We are going to meet one such leader who spent 3 decades in building, scaling, and transforming global capability centers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shameel Sharma.
I want to be here, build the best GCC in India, and that's what my target is. If you don't have an amazing culture, then you will never be able to reach the peaks of transformation that you really want, because you'll always be firefighting with retaining talent, and trying to keep people, within the entire organization.
You led organizations to help them achieve great place to work for, with indices above 89%. Right. How have you made this possible? How can one lead successful transformations where people and teams look at transformation as an opportunity and not as a potential disruptor?
People are not really scared of change. What people are scared of is losses. Really hard is include your teams into your change strategy or your talent strategy or whatever that you're doing.
As you know, on 1800 plus GCCs in India already, we are positioned to invite another 600 plus that are in the queue for the next 2 to 3 years. With that kind of insurge of organizations, from your vantage point of view, where do you think the future of GCC lies in India? What are those key emerging trends that you see in the industry today? Beyond process and profits, what do you think should be at the heart of any transformation? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to yet another episode of the Sunny Shah Show. This is our forum when we sit down and talk with some of the most prominent leaders from across the globe, learn business, entrepreneurship, and leadership from all of them. As you know, India is becoming the epicenter of the global capability centers. And this would not have been possible had it not been for prominent leadership that has built, scaled, and exponentially transformed GCCs. We are going to meet one such leader who spent 3 decades in building, scaling, and transforming global capability centers. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Shameel Sharma. Shameel, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Sunny. I've seen your videos on YouTube. You're doing a phenomenal job. Thank you for inviting me on the show.
Thank you. The pleasure is all mine, Shameel. Shameel, we will start by knowing more about your personal journey. Close to 30 years is what you spent in building what used to be called business process outsourcing centers, now global capability centers. And in this illustrious journey that you had, spending time with various companies in various cities, and almost seeing the way India has evolved to where we are today as an epicenter for global capability centers. Can you tell me more about how it started and what was your drive getting into this?
So, Sunny, I have a really diverse career. I did my hotel management, joined the hotels as a lobby manager. I worked in the hotels for 4 years. Mm-hmm. After those 4 years, I kind of moved to the airline industry with KLM, Royal Dutch Airlines. And then from there, I went into the BPOs. Way back in 2002, there was always a dearth of senior executives who could come and run the BPOs because it was a very, very human-intensive operation. And that's when I got the opportunity. From the BPOs, I moved to IT services, manage transitions, manage a lot of operation transformation. And the GCC space I actually entered was in 2012.
Right.
From 2012 onwards, I've been in this space and I totally love this because I just feel that setting up and scaling a GCC is the most exciting thing that can really happen. When you really pick up a business and you start building it from scratch, you build the culture, you build the processes, you bring in technology or you transform technology, it is greatly gratifying. So my journey has been diverse, but one thing that's worked for me is that I've always tried to be open to explore. I've seen a number of people who sit in a silo and want to stay there, but I've kind of moved around because my end goal was to become a CEO one day. And my point was that if I don't know the functioning of all the departments, how can I really become one? But today, proud to say that when you're running a GCC, whether it's finance, whether it's HR, whether it's procurement, whether it's any function, whether it's IT development, IT infrastructure, I have expertise across the entire length and breadth. And for me, it's a bit of a homecoming. I mean, I've now joined Marriott. So it's a homecoming, starting from hospitality, ending in hospitality. I feel the next 10 years before I head off to retirement, I want to be here, build the best GCC in India, and that's what my target is.
Wonderful. In this career, especially when there was a turning point where you started focusing on being a part of the journey for GCCs since 2012, Was there a calling that made you believe that this is where I belong, from building to scaling to transforming organizations?
Now, that's a very good question. During the earlier parts of my career, I met a mix of managers. There were managers who were extremely people oriented, there were managers who were very task driven. There were cultures which were okay to work in, there were cultures which were really horrible. And when I was a manager, I used to ensure that my team was motivated, my team was connected, but I could not say that for the wider organization. And while my teams did brilliantly well in terms of employee satisfaction and attrition, there were other parts in the entire company which weren't really at that level. As a result of which, there was a lot of angst because there were a lot of pull and push happening between how is Shameel able to do it and how we can't do it and stuff like that. My lessons during the entire time when I was more of a manager, senior manager, did not have control over a larger remit was that, or my desire was that I'm going to build organizations which have the best culture, which have the highest employee satisfaction, where we are churning out excellent results. And that's what kind of pushed me into the GCCs, because my first GCC was with Kantar, a small business which I scaled to 1,300 FTEs plus. We were the 22nd best place to work for in India at one point of time. There was a huge culture transformation that was done, a lot of technology transformation, a lot of things that we built on our own to help in the entire employee experience. That experience was so amazing that I was finally able to do what I really wanted to do. And that was the transformation point for me, because that's when I kind of realized that this is something that I truly, truly enjoy. Um, GCCs kind of give you the power and authority to be able to make changes much faster. You don't have to go through SOWs and multiple levels of approvals and stuff, because all the GCC leaders today, they have full ownership and control over the area that they are kind of managing. And that really helped me a lot. So I kind of realized that GCC is a space that I want to be. And transformation happened more because I wanted to ensure that the people that are working for our organization get the tools, the culture, and have the best experience possible to be able to generate the results that we really desire.
It's wonderful. With this experience of building and scaling a couple of GCCs in this span of 12, 13 years that you had in this space,
Right.
as per you, what's a true differentiator that differentiates a high performing, true value add GCC with that of a GCC that simply delivers?
Well, a lot really depends upon A, when the GCC started, and B, what is the strategy behind the GCC. There are a number of organizations where the HQ wants the GCC to be delivered as an offshore center, which is just doing day-to-day transactional activity. For them to come onto the table where they are counted as innovators and others takes a lot of time, because a lot depends upon the local leadership as to how much are they able to get a seat on the table, which means how innovative are they, how collaborative they are they part of discussions or senior level discussions in terms of strategy.
Yeah.
Now, for a GCC to be truly, truly part of the entire strategy, I think it's very important that the teams that are here are part of the overall story, which means that they are part of the strategy discussions that are happening from a HQ level.
Yeah.
So transactional GCCs, which are already running on a transactional basis, will find it a little bit harder to become more strategic, because there's a lot more of buying that needs to be done from the headquarters. But there are a lot more GCCs today which are being built from the emphasis of a strategic location as a strategic center. And from day one, they're ingrained into the strategy of the organization. So a lot really depends upon what's being set up, but having a seat on the table, having people who trust you, is extremely important for any GCC to be treated as a strategic center.
That's interesting. If you look at this landscape, even in the GCC landscape of, if you look at last decade of what's happened in India, right from the beginning, where we originally thought GCCs are coming to India as a cost center, driving them towards becoming value centers and innovation centers. What is important when you're driving that change?
I think at the center of everything that we do is people, and the people that we deploy and the people that we employ. The second is being, again, a part of the strategy and being able to understand the entire strategy. See, you can become an innovation center, you can become a value-added center only when you truly understand what is happening. B, you put an arm and foot into it to say, I'm going to help you get there. You communicate that entire direction to the teams that are working with you, and then you work strategically towards achieving those objectives. So that's really what's very, very important from that particular aspect. So I believe that it's teams, it's people, it's understanding the overall strategy, it's the knowledge of what technology can bring onto the table, and a whole lot of factors. But at the center of everything is the culture that an organization really has. If you don't have an amazing culture, then you will never be able to reach the peaks of transformation that you really want, because you'll always be firefighting with retaining talent, and trying to keep people within the entire organization.
You led organizations to help them achieve great place to work for with indices above
Right.
89%.
Right.
How have you made this possible?
Right. So, Sunny, is very important for any organization to have the eyes and ears on the ground. Of course, it's very important for you to be able to listen to what your teams are telling you, and also what your clients are telling you, and what your stakeholders are telling you, because basis that only you can go ahead and create actions which are able to enhance the entire experience. There are a lot of organizations who actually will do service but not do anything after the service. But what I've learned with my experience is that you have to not just share the goods of the survey with your employees, but also the bads and the learnings of the entire survey, and then hold yourself and the senior team accountable to be able to fix those issues. And while you're fixing those issues, communicate continuously to the employees to tell them what are you doing around it, what's the status of the fixes, and all these things. Because what's important is trust. If your employee is able to trust you, and which will only happen when they know for a fact that you walk the talk, you are a leader who is true to their word, and they are ready to fall with the entire strength behind you to be able to propel an organization to greater heights, that's the only time when you will really start seeing amazing results.
Right.
So I believe all these things are really, really important to be able to build that culture. But I would say listening, listen, and listen, and then act, and act, and communicate. I mean, all these things are extremely important.
Wonderful. When leading a transformation for any organization, right, not just talking about hospitality as an industry, but any organization, when you're leading a transformation, it's always perceived as a disruptor. People get uncomfortable when they're asked to change. Based on your experience, for our listeners today, how can one lead successful transformations where people and teams look at transformation as an opportunity and not as a potential disruptor?
Right. People are not really scared of change. What people are scared of is losses.
Yeah.
And that's what makes them stop adapting to or accepting, because they feel that they're going to be pushed harder, they'll have to work harder, or or they may end up losing their job, what's happening currently with the entire AI agenda. But what one has to be very important, one has to be very clear is the fact is to be able to communicate to the entire workforce of what are we trying to do and why are we trying to do it. If we are open and honest with the entire teams and tell them exactly clearly as to what we are transforming, why are we transforming, how is it going to impact the customer, how is it going to impact them, how life is going to become easy, how will they have access to more data, which in terms will allow us to improve the experience of the customers as well as their own self, accepting a change becomes a lot more easy. The problem why people have issues is because the change communication has only happened between the seniors or between certain pockets who are driving the change, but not to every person in the entire organization. So it's always very important that when you're driving any kind of a change, even if it's something like a cultural change or a technology change, you have done a thorough mapping of what you want to do, why you want to do it, again, keeping that North Star in mind, coming with a full action plan, and then communicating that plan to all the associates in terms of timelines, accountabilities, ownership, and the entire piece around it. The more they know, the more ease that they will feel. Sure. Second, I would also say and push really hard is include your teams into your change strategy or your talent strategy or whatever that you're doing. Because what's important is for them to come up with ideas, them being the enablers for the change. At the moment they are part of this bigger change process, you will suddenly see that there's a lot more acceptance within the entire organization for the change.
For leaders listening to us, right, what are your tips that would help them in accelerate cross-functional collaborations for large, complex organizations?
Well, first and foremost, of course, do not play the silo game. At the end of it, every function, every department is trying to achieve a bigger cause, right? And that is the success of the organization. improved experiences for our customers, improved experiences for our employees and associates. So it's not about finance versus HR versus technology versus innovation stuff. So it's very important for leaders to ensure that the goals that we have at the top are shared goals, which means that everybody understands what they're trying to do in the entire organization, and also ensure that every time that one department has a success over something is celebrated across the organization and not really in that department. Long time ago, we used to have this big problem where people in sales used to be getting the highest incentives. And while the people at the background who used to be, or the backwards functions used to be delivering profitability to the customers, the sales guys used to get all the kudos. That I think was very, very poor strategy. At the end of it, one win is a win for the entire organization. One learning event is a learning event for the entire organization. So very important that everybody understands what we're trying to achieve. There are joint goals. There are a lot of collaboration sessions. There are cross-functional teams who are involved in any kind of change that is being delivered. And also, as a matter of fact, in terms of cultural transformation or collaboration, I mean, forming smaller groups within a larger workforce helps really, it really helps teams know about what each and every department is doing. And that also kind of brings the teams together. So when we say have a one team ethic, there's a lot of effort that goes into pushing that one team ethic. And that really starts at the top.
Right.
The finance head, HR head, procurement head, facilities head, IT head, everybody needs to be sitting on the table and talking the right things and also being friendly amongst each other. Because if they have animosity, it will obviously trickle down to the other departments and the managers that they have. So it's a very comprehensive plan, not difficult to do, but really all depends upon is on the leader who's leading this pack. Does he lead them as smaller silos, or does he push the teams to work together as one team? Because that will help in the entire collaboration between functions.
Very interesting. Let's talk about future.
Okay.
As you know, 1,800 plus GCCs in India already. We are positioned to invite another 600 plus that are in the queue for next 2 to 3 years. With that kind of insurge of organizations, from your vantage point of view, where do you think the future of GCC lies in India? What are those key emerging trends that you see in the industry today?
That's a brilliant question. We keep on thinking about it all the time. With the number of GCCs coming in, how the talent war is going to become even more visible than what it is right now. But, India has a huge talent market, and there's no really denying about it. Right now, we're just scratching the surface of tier 1 cities, but then you have tier 2 cities and tier 3 cities, and, there's hybrid working and there's remote working, and there are so many models, which kind of, help GCCs flourish and become successful. So in my view, what's going to happen in the next few years? Yes, GCCs will continue. Technology will play a very, very strong role in terms of expertise, whether it's Python, Java will still continue to be one of the primary technologies that we will need help with. AI, machine learning, automation, the entire pieces of it. RPO in its own sense, which is automation, will of course continue. So all these things will continue. But what's going to change in the GCC landscape is I think the transaction-based GCCs are going to struggle a little because a lot of this automation will take care of the transactions that need to be managed. There will be more boundaryless workers. There will be more joint collaborative teams between the in-country, out-country, kind of a setup which is there.
Yeah.
There will be a lot more battle for talent. I don't really deny that. But a lot of the business lines will actually change. Today, if you look at some of our platforms, right, in an organization, finance has a different platform that they're using. HR is different. A lot of focus, I believe, in the future is going to be on a single platform with a very heavy level of integration, with a lot of data flowing between these various platforms to be able to give the insights that we really want. And I feel the entire thing around data engineering and analytics is going to be a huge push because lots of companies are sitting on millions and millions of bytes of data, which is just there. But cleaning up that data, making sense out of it, getting insights, building your experiences based on that is really going to be extremely key. But India, I feel, is in a very, very good place. But after the first GCC for a brand has been said, it's good to look at tier 2 and tier 3 cities and see as to what's really happening. But I think technology, talent are going to play a strong role. And also I see a lot of senior leadership positions moving into the India market, especially when you're looking at innovation, right? So if there's something new being done or something new which is being developed, If from day one it starts getting developed here itself in India with a full team which is sitting here or a full pod, that would make more sense, and we'll see a lot of that happening. We're only seeing a lot of people in the US who've been there for the last 15, 20 years coming back to India. And that is also going to give a huge push in terms of India having its own capabilities and delivering all those capabilities to the globe.
It's wonderful. If I may ask a question around what you are doing on ground, right?
Right.
So you are building a tech accelerator
Right.
for a world-class hospitality chain, Marriott, if I can name. As you guys get into this game, obviously looking at technologies, AI, accelerators, next-gen technologies, how are you positioning yourself in the overall strategy to make sure that Marriott globally will seek immense value from the GCC that we are setting here in India?
So one thing that works for us is from day one, our model has been very different. We are not an offshoring center. We're not getting rid of jobs in the US and putting them in India. So that really ensures that everybody in the HQ is very much aligned with having an MTA, and the MTA has taken a lot of time to be conceptualized and to be approved. So one of the things that works for us, like I said, is our model.
Mm-hmm.
Our model is extensions or part of the same team which is sitting in our headquarters. So we have a lot of teams which are headquarters, which is MTA, which is our partners.
Okay.
We have a number of partners that we work with, partners as in vendors, but we prefer calling them partners. So we have a lot of teams which are a very strong integration between all these three. That's where all of them are aligned to what's really being done in the Marriott world, because we have a strong transformation program which is currently being run. But it's key to know that everybody, whether you are sitting in HQ, whether you're sitting here in Hyderabad, whether you're sitting at any of our partner locations, they all work collaboratively as one single team. And that makes it very, very easy because there are no threats. There is total, calibration amongst what needs to be done.
Yeah.
The goals are common. So everybody's working towards that same common goal. So from our perspective, we don't see challenges on that angle. Second, the Marriott brand is extremely strong. I don't think branding is a problem that we'll have. But my goal or my target and my team's target is to build the best culture possible, because the dream is to have Marriott as a top 10 great workplaces in India. And that's what we are currently working towards.
Wonderful. And I wish you greater success in that pursuit.
Thank you, Sunny.
Beyond process and profits, what do you think should be at the heart of any transformation?
People. The people are the heart of the organization, and the heart is the people at the end of it. So at the heart of every transformation are the people. If you manage your people well, if you keep them engaged, if you work on ownership, if you empower them, if you give them the freedom to operate, if you're there to listen to their problems, challenges, and you fix them, it's not about listening. And then you use technology to give you insights in terms of information and data about what they really need, or you give it to the managers to help them manage the businesses better. There's nothing better than having them, because again, like I said, no transformation can be run in a silo. I mean, the head of technology or the CEO can dream of a transformation, but if the people are not aligned, if the people are not energized by the organization, its vision, its purpose, what it's trying to do, and then the culture element which comes in terms of how they feel while they're working for the organization, all these things are really, really important. But at the core is, I would say, people, and then the purpose as to what you're trying to do, why you're trying to do it, communication around it, and then taking care of your heart, which is the people.
Wonderful. With that, we come to the fun side of our episode, which is a rapid fire.
Okay.
Are you open for it?
Oh, definitely.
I mean, you know the rules of rapid fire, so I'm not going to say that here, but I'm going to shoot some questions.
Sure.
And whatever comes to your mind spontaneously is your answer.
Okay.
Fantastic. So the first one, a leadership book every manager should read.
The first book that I read when I was in Convergys way back in 2002 was Winning, by Jack Welch and his wife, Susie Welch. And till date, for any new manager coming in, I always, insist and I push them to read this book. In fact, in my previous organization, we have a mini version of Winning, and I gave it to everybody saying, guys, read it. And we did have these book sessions where we went through the summary of that. The one which is very latest that I've read is Leaders Eat Last by Simon Sinek. And the reason why I love that book is because through my entire career, I've always believed in people.
Right.
People come first. In the hotel industry, when I started my career, it was all about the customer is right. Employee comes secondary. When I went into the BPO world, it was always about revenue results, revenue results, revenue results. It was really about the people. But as the model kept on evolving, and as more and more companies started coming in, suddenly we saw a shift happening from revenue and customers to people first. And then a lot more people started talking about it, that people are first, people are first. And I'm glad that I've always followed that philosophy, and I totally believe in that philosophy. That's why coming to a company like Marriott, which has people first as one of the values, one of the 5 values. So you have people first, and we serve the world, and we have integrity.
Wow.
3 strong values right there, which everybody in the organization believes in. I didn't even think twice when I had to join this place, because I just felt, the values of the organization are totally aligned to what I believe in. And when I work for the betterment of the people who will then work for the betterment of our customers, the organization will support it. And that's the good part, because I've seen organizations where HQ has values and your center has values, but you are running on a different value stream and the HQ is running on a different value stream. And the Marriott world is just the same. Everybody's working towards the same values, which really helps a lot.
Wonderful.
Winning and
Excellent.
leaders eat last.
A mentor or a role model who deeply influenced you in your life?
Oh, there were lots of them. I don't think there's anybody one who I just look at and say, wow, he's the one, he's like my guru and everything else. I learned a lot from my father. He was a pilot in the Air Force. I've known that when he used to fly, he used to shut off his house, his family. And he always used to tell me that, son, when I sit in the cockpit and I switch on that engine, I'm not thinking about the family. My wife may be in the ICU, my son may be somewhere else. I don't care. At the time, is the aircraft, my engine, and my mission. And that's what I really want to do. So I learned a lot from him in terms of, persistence, staying away from the home in crazy locations, going for certain emergencies and not being sure whether he'll come back or not and stuff like that. So there was that.
Yeah.
Then my mother was there, who was a hardworking teacher come and housewife. And that's why I'm very, very sensitive to women in our organization, because I know how my mom used to get up in the morning, cook our breakfast, send us to school, go to school, teach, come back in the afternoon, and there's dinner and all this stuff, and then laundry. We didn't have washing machines when we were growing up, right? So everything happens by hand. And that's why in our organizations, I always ensure that, women, because they have a huge responsibility, I always keep on checking with them saying, how can we help you make your work easier? So whether it's a bit of flexibility in hours, I want to take a break and go and do grocery shopping, that's fine. But not just the women, even the men. I mean, I know people in most of the organizations, I will push men saying, how many of you know how to cook? How many of you are helping your wife? So that's some of the things that we try and talk about, saying, hey, please, let's really focus on that art. So those two, definitely. My sister, at a very young age, went to the US because she was single. And in the Indian world, being single is something where everybody asks. हमेशा पूछते हैं ना वो relatives and all this stuff कि बेटा शादी कब हो रही है? And she's like, I'm done. I'm moving to the US because I don't know whether I'm going to get married or not. So the first 3, those were the ones who were my role models. Then a lot of people. My first front office manager, Sudhir Bali, he was a guy who once stood with me when something went wrong. And he supported me 100%, even when the general manager of the hotel had said, get rid of him. But he stood by me. By the evening, there was evidence that I didn't do anything wrong. There was somebody else outside of the hotel who had messed up. There's a big story behind that. I don't want to take time on that. I learned from him that employees come first. Trust your employees, support them 100%. And then through the journey, various leaders. Some have done certain elements. Some were great in tasks. I had a manager when I was working in KLM, and I'm sure if he sees this, Tushar Pednekar, every email that we had to send out, he used to force me to print that email out. And I used to take it to him and he used to make corrections in that email. Then you write it again, then you send it to him again, he used to cut it out again. It was such a gruesome task, but at the end of it, I learned email writing from him. So there are many leaders that are really there. I have a deep admiration for our Prime Minister, Mr. Narendra Modi. I follow him. I'm a Modi guy at the end of it. But yeah, there are many. But no one single person that I really dote upon.
One city that you feel energized living in?
I'm happy being in Hyderabad. When I'm traveling, when I'm in the US or the UK, and not so much in Marriott, but in my previous organizations, I was traveling almost a quarter of the year. There's no better bed than your own bed. There's no better food than the food that you get from your own kitchen. And there are no better hugs than the hugs that you get from your wife and your daughter and your parents. So I think for me, if I am stressed out, Of course, gymming is one thing that I do, but being at home is something that I really, really love. I don't think if I go for a holiday somewhere, then in the holiday mood, right? So all the thing to do with Goa and stuff doesn't work. It doesn't work for me. It's okay for a good recalibration, but I like Hyderabad. That's where I do my best work.
And one piece of advice that you would give to your younger self?
Stay hungry. Always be willing to explore the unknown, ask questions. Don't stop yourself from experimenting. One correction is network better and have more patience, because I think I was somebody who was on fire the entire time. And I always had a very short timeline to doing things, but I realized that it really makes people uncomfortable. Um, Continue working on your skills with people. People are still the most important person. So I would say, yes, definitely do that. And yeah, just be patient. Just be patient. There have been times in my career where I've been a bit impatient and I've jumped ships. Maybe I shouldn't have. Maybe I should have stayed where it was. And get a mentor. In my career, there was no philosophy of mentorship and stuff like that. Even when you go to companies, you had a CEO or a head of or director of operations. Mentorship wasn't common. Today, it is more common with LinkedIn and everything else. You can reach out to somebody and say, "Listen, can you mentor me?" Depending on the person's successes, I'm currently mentoring about 10 odd people in different parts of India. But yeah, I wish I had a mentor early who could help me navigate some of the challenges that I really faced.
Wonderful. Throughout during this conversation, I found you as someone who is extremely passionate about his people. I found you as a leader who wants to put people first. I also found you somebody who believes in inclusiveness. And in various responses that I could gather, right, uh, I can safely say that the MTA is in safe hands
Thank
with
you.
you being at the helm of things. But at the same time, I think it's also important that ambassadors like you, who keep culture, people first, are the ones who usually end up making successful transformative companies. So, with that being said, I thank you for being on this show today, and I wish you tremendous success in your future pursuit.
No, thank you for having me around, Sunny. This has been exciting and interesting. But yes, thank you so much. Yes, people at the center, and results to deliver. That's what the goal is going to be. And yes, I think probably a year from now, a year and a half from now, we'll talk about the MTA and where the MTA has reached. Thank you.
Absolutely. Looking forward to that. Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Shameel Sharma, a leader who doesn't give up, keeping his people and culture first. Please make sure you continue to share this with anybody who this can be very, very helpful to. And please make sure you subscribe to our channel so we can bring more such meaningful conversations to you. Thank you so much. Stay blessed.